Episode 12, 1864. New Orleans' official return to the Union. And the big celebration. Welcome back. We're still in New Orleans with P S Gilmore. This is about February of that year in 1864. The Union leadership of the Department of the Gulf, that was the other name for Louisiana at this time, decided they would have an election for a new governor, and their candidate was to be a lawyer called Michael Hahn. The campaign began about this time of the year, February 1864, and so we'll follow the campaign and the results of the campaign over the next few months, concentrating on obviously P S Gilmore's involvement and activities. Please remember that, as we found in the last episode, Gilmore had already brought two black bands to the Department of the Gulf, which he had trained in Camp Meigs in Boston, and about 32 instruments between the two bands, and introduced them and their skills to the public of New Orleans to get them, I suppose, more accepted. They had played to the leaders of the Union like General Banks and the senior officers. They had played for ceremonial events, for regiments, regiments leaving, regiments arriving, and indeed for injured soldiers in St. Louis Hospital in New Orleans. Now they would be used further. So please click subscribe and like below to this documentary, and if you have any comments, I'd love to hear from them as well, and I'll reply as soon as possible. As before, I'm going to give you some reports from local newspapers of the day in a chronological order from that time. And so February the 20th, 1864, the order of march for Hahn's Torchlight Parade is announced, with number 1 being the City Band, also called Jaegers, and number 23 being Gilmore's Band, just before a platform drawn by 4 horses bearing a large flag with the motto, "Free State Executive Committee, elect Hahn, our governor." So Gilmore has been incorporated into an active role in the election of the new state governor, it seems. February the 22nd, on the birthday of Washington, a grand national concert will take place at the foot of Canal Street near the levee, commencing at 9 and ending at 10. The band will be made up of all available musicians in the city and in the department, and the program will contain an interesting selection of national and popular airs, including Hail Columbia, Washington March, Star Spangled Banner, Yankee Doodle, English National March, God Save the Queen, French Air, Russian Anthem, God Save the Emperor, Storm Gallop, Soldiers Return March, the Marseillaise, and a final for Faurisio, representing the din of battle, accompanied by General Arnold's artillery. The conductor was P S Gilmore. On February the 23rd, as part of the promotion of the Union cause and the Union candidate, the great event of the day was the concert on Canal Street, under the direction of Mr. Gilmore, attended by 15,000 people, and was the greatest musical novelty ever witnessed in this city. After the concert, everyone went back to business of voting Louisiana back into the Union, and during the day all true patriots were to be found working hard at the polls. In the center of the event, towering over all, like Saul in the midst of his warlike hosts, stood Gilmore, the great leader. The gentle movements of his magic wand would soon cause the silent air to thrill and vibrate with the music of 300 instruments. February the 24th, Professor Gilmore was present at the St. Charles Hotel for ceremonies, presenting a sword and sash to Colonel Love of the 116th New York from the commissioned officers of the 30th Massachusetts Volunteers. Officers of the regiment with several invited guests assembled in the parlour. February the 26th, the 4th of March has always been a gala day in New Orleans on account of its being the anniversary of the foundation of the fire department. A proposal is been made of a concert for 5,000 to 6,000 performers. The services of Mr. Gilmore and his superb band of 32 performers will be secured. The children of public schools, almost in a body, and the artillery are already as food as engaged. The musical exercises will be under the control of Mr. Gilmore. In preparation for the inauguration of the newly elected governor of Louisiana, Gilmore was asked by General Banks and Butler to prepare a large celebration reflecting the power of the state and the Union and welcoming all that lived within her boundaries. Gilmore had some examples that he could base his ideas on. He had heard the great conductor, Frenchman Louis-Antoine Julien, and in fact seen his concerts in Dublin. Gilmore himself had travelled to, seen and even participated personally in Crystal Palace in England in 1857 when the great conductor Michael Costa had directed the Handel festivals in London. The first of these had a 2,000-strong choir, and 2 years later in 1859 a larger event celebrated the 100th anniversary of Frederick Handel's death, which had 2,700 singers and an orchestra of 300 musicians. Another in 1862 took place with a choir of 4,000 and an orchestra of 400. And so he got to work immediately organising what Harper's Weekly would call the Great Gilmorean Event, a new word for the English language. He approached the superintendent of schools, Mr. Carter, to identify his willingness to do all in his powers to aid the enterprise and consented to have the pupils instructed in the parts he would assign them. They organised rehearsals quickly under Carter's direction in the Lyceum Hall with Gilmore's band and the children of the 1st and 4th district schools. The exercise began with Hail Columbia, with the children, after some modification and the swell of young throats almost drowning the full notes of the magnificent band that played the accompaniment to the glorious air. Gilmore's thoughts on the children was absolutely wonderful. He expressed great surprise at the accuracy with which the children, as small as these, sang these airs. He said such a result could not have been accomplished without much training on the part of the teachers and the attention and willingness to learn from the pupils. He declared unreservedly that the children of the public schools of no other city in the United States could equal New Orleans in this respect. Teachers of New Orleans think of such a compliment. He commented that they were thoroughly proficient in music, coming from a land where sweet sounds are cultivated to great perfection pronounces your efforts to be creditable to you and your city. In response, they suggested that we think Mr. Gilmore's presence in this city at this time is very opportune. On March the 4th, all night the workmen, several hundred in number, were kept constantly engaged in completing the preparation for the grand inaugural ceremony. General Arnold had arranged in regular order many brilliant polished guns, to which Captain Buckley with a strong face was last night attaching wires. These wires related to telegraphic instruments and batteries, which are also on the square. All the public bells will be rung for 30 minutes morning, noon, and night, throughout the medium of the fire alarm telegraph under the direction of Elliott Smith, Esquire. Instrumental music by a band of 300 musicians in connection with vocal performance by a chorus of 5,000 children of the public schools with artillery accompaniment to commence in Lafayette Square at 10 a.m. under the direction of P S Gilmore, Esquire. Number 1. Hail Columbia, children, band, and artillery. Number 2. Star Spangled Banner, children, band, and artillery. Number 3. Anvil Chorus, full band, 40 beaters with anvil pieces, and 50 pieces of artillery. 4. Our Flag is There, children, band, chiming of bells, artillery. 5. National popular airs, including a new march dedicated to Governor Hahn. We don't know what that march was. And finally, the grand finale, America. Therefore, using the earlier English concerts as a template, Gilmore set about designing an affair which, like those festivals, were one-day concerts, combining the best that America could offer. Michael Hahn, the newly elected free state governor of Louisiana, was about to be inaugurated, and the reorganization of the Commonwealth under the principles of liberty established by the Constitution was deemed by Gilmore as being worthy of something more than an ordinary celebrative demonstration. It would be patriotic, it would be pro-union, but it would not ignore the feelings of the Confederacy support. With the permission of the New Orleans authorities, he had the support of 5,000 local children from public schools. Combined with this, an orchestra of 500 musicians drawn from both Union and Confederate armies. It was said by people at that time that the performance of our national airs by such a combined force would never be forgotten by those who had heard it. So, that's it for this week. Next time, we will visit the concert, its excitement, and its effect. This was going to be the biggest such event on the continent during the 19th century at this stage. So, please click like and subscribe to get notifications of the next episode. I'd love to hear from you, so contact me below in comments, or indeed send me an email to gilmoresband@gmail.com. Thank you for your time. Bye now.